Greetings, everyone. This is Kalei Ross with In Pursuit of Purity. It is my desire to learn as much as I can about chocolate and the chocolate making industry. I would love to share with you what I learn, so I hope you enjoy these videos. Greetings, everyone. This is Kalei Ross. And while I am here in Vancouver, Washington, dealing with the winter weather, I am grateful to be joined by Tamara Moore, who is down in the Dominican Republic at the Plantación de Cacao del Eden. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's wonderful. And thank you for inviting me to share the history of our cacao farm.
Well, I am so excited to hear about it. But before we do, tell us what your weather is like, because I know many of us here in the US are experiencing, or other parts of the world are experiencing some kind of winter weather.
Winter weather in Dominican Republic, of course, it's like today is 91 degrees. Yesterday it was 86. It's sort of chilly. So now we have between summer and winter, we have 6-degree difference, and the local people suffer a lot. They say it's very, very cold. So they wear warm jackets and the hats for the foreigners who come here just to escape from snow-covered Canada or upper states of the United States. It's like, come on, people. It's so pleasant and so nice. So everything is in bloom. Everything. We're just waiting for a little bit of more rain.
Well, I'm grateful that you are here to share your experience. I know that obviously anybody that's in the chocolate industry has some kind of chocolate or cacao related story. Will you share what factors contributed to your love for cacao?
The story, why? First of all, probably why cacao and how it happened. My husband and I, we began to humanitarian work on the island of Hispaniola back in the 19th after Hurricane Andrew. And then closer to the retirement, during my tenure at World Vision in Washington, D.C., we already were closely connected to Hispaniola, and we began to look at the project where we could have a very active retirement. And I should say we succeeded. So we bought a cacao farm, and since 2013 we have been growing and taking care of the existing cacao and planting and growing new cacao trees, which is very, very exciting process.
Please tell us about that, because it's not just about growing growing a plant. Obviously, there's a lot of education and research that needs to go into learning how to properly care for the plants, as well as the whole process of fermentation and processing the beans. How did you come across the information to be able to do all of this? Because it is quite a unique and special craft.
I agree. And I agree with that. 100%. And I would say I had two sources. The primary source was local people, because after we bought the farm, we had a team that had been taking care of that land before us. And so they began to share with us the traditional ways, or the ways that cacao was prepared in the Dominican Republic. And these were not only the people who worked on the farm, but then there are exporters in the Dominican Republic, and they have highly trained engineers and professionals. So my husband and I, we traveled across the country seeking this knowledge and meeting with people and asking them what is the best way to build a fermentation box or sweat box, what wood is the best to use. This is a sweet wood, okay, which one did you use here? How to build, what is the best shape for the drying tunnel? Do you use wood? Do you use metal? And many other things. And the second source for me, because I am a teacher, so I always read and do a lot of research. These were all the publications, which there are quite a few by various cacao organizations and cacao institutions all over the world, sharing the experiences from Western Africa, Latin American countries. And I think for me personally, it was very, very valuable contribution. So between these two, we now have the very, very functional fermentation center. We have the tunnel. We are building this year a very good warehouse where we would be able to control the humidity for a longer period of time. And hopefully this next year, my dream to make our own chocolate just for the visitors to the farm at this point will come true as well. I don't know about other countries, but here you need to know there is rainy season, there is dry season. If you clean cacao farm, you cannot clean it when you want. If it is too hot, you cannot remove even grass under the cacao trees, because if drought continues, you can lose cacao tree. It can just dry out. So there are lots of peculiarities from the agronomy point of view, but we began to look at the soil, the quality of the soil, and we began to connect the parcels that we wanted to develop near the river to the older parcel with cacao, with all the cacao trees. And it takes a year to prepare the land. You remove all the debris, the trees that are not pairing well or compatible with cacao because of the root system. So you create shade. You begin to plant jautia or manioc with this huge elephant ears and banana trees, platana, to create shade. And then in this existing shade, when it reaches like 1 meter high, you begin to plant cacao trees. And cacao trees can be planted from seedlings from the nursery, which are grown in the nurseries, or you can just plant seeds. And in the Dominican Republic, they usually plant 2 seeds in the hole, and then you just watch them. They never water, nothing. So percentage of the survival can be different depending on the rain with the seeds. It's not my favorite way of planting, but they use both methods here. So, and then you just continue to take care of cacao. So to all chocolate makers, I want to say, please learn a little bit about the nature of this bean that ends up in your hands. Because from my experience, when chocolate makers come to my farm, some of them have never even seen the pod, the cacao pod, other than in the pictures. So it's the miracle of serendipity, of discovery of this fruit of God. And then we always try to make the same as for the tourists, the same for our partners, chocolate makers, very interactive experience. When people visit Eden, they plant the tree, they collect cacao, they work in fermentation center, they help us dry cacao beans. So they can smell, they can touch, they can actually feel what it takes to prepare this incredible product. And then you just move beyond cacao, because cacao grows in the shade. So you begin to look and find the trees for the shade, like orange trees. You plant avocado, you look for different hybrids of avocado. And it's totally sort of additional but rewarding experience as well. And at Eden, we plant various citrus trees. We plant mango, different hybrids of mango, which is my favorite from Haiti, is Madame Francie. There is no better mango in the world from my perspective. And we also plant trees that produce valuable wood, which, for instance, mahogany, but mahogany is not very good for cacao farm, criollo. So we plant other types of trees, such as cedar, but it's not American cedar. American oak, which is not American oak. These are just the names, but these are obviously more subtropical, tropical kinds of trees. And so then cacao, well, this tree is matured, cacao is growing and also grows at the same time. And you see that cacao farm is in the shade.
You had mentioned the name Eden. Please tell us how you came up with a name for your farm.
We were creating a paradise. So how do you create a paradise without calling it a paradise? So my husband, who is a priest and who has always been very intricately involved with everything Eden from day one, before the purchase, doing all the due diligence work, all that. So we were talking, he said, what are you going to look at our plan? Plant cacao trees and then share this with the people, the beauty of what we're creating with the people, so they can come, they can participate, and they can enjoy this Garden of Eden. So it's God's garden. So, and this is how we came up with the name. It sort of came from the conversation. It all goes into our background, isn't it? So we loved it.
I'm curious because obviously beans from all parts of the world have different flavor profiles. What do you find to be the predominant flavors in your beans?
In Eden beans, I think the main profile will be flowery with a touch of honey. From other chocolate makers who buy from us, I'm always asking. This year we're selling to Sweden and we're selling to France, hopefully to Spain. And I always ask, so what are the main characteristics, what it is? And I will share with you later. I mean, one partner of ours from France, he wrote like a poem. When they opened the container door, the smell, all the aroma, it was just overpowering for the people who have never been to the farm, have never experienced this volume of cacao beans. But I would say fruity with honey touch.
So given that you have been selling your beans to places all across the world, how is it that you've been able to make these connections with these different chocolate makers?
With every person is different. We first started in 2000, so the farm was purchased in 2013. We spent 2012 just looking for different options. And then the first container was actually shipped in October 2014 to the United States. We shipped it to Consolidator. And then my husband did a tour across the United States to San Francisco, to Dandelion, to Boston Taza, to Vermont, to many, many chocolate makers, including those in the city as well, because we live 2 hours from New York. And so our fruition, for instance, which is located not far from where we live, they won a Good Food Awards in 2013 with our beans. That was their first Good Food Awards, and that was for sort of a first experience for us, which was very encouraging. You can imagine when you're just beginning to do something and then you receive this news, it's very, very encouraging for everybody.
Absolutely.
So we started with United States, and then it's more through, with friends was more through the charitable connection. And we contacted a cheesemaker in the city through the church. And actually the way they got to know us, they were driving by and they just stopped because they saw this beautiful sign that we have displayed now on our Facebook page, Plantation Delivery. They just walked in. So I love people who just walk in. I love walk-ins. I love these people because they're daring, they're curious, they're open. And this is how it started. And he connected us with his friend. And so their business, Saveur Nature, is in the south of the Laura what language? Real Laura, I'm trying to say it in Spanish. And so we have been working with them since 2016.
Wow.
Every year they're buying primarily all of our beans. They're excited. They make chocolate and sell it in 19 countries of the world. And so I received the pictures from Japan and everywhere. It's very, very exciting. And so Sweden contact, it came from Facebook, and now more and more. And I appreciate when people approach me now to include Plantation Delivery into this, so that group, professional group, because it's a great honor for us. It's very important for the people who work on the farm to know that what they do gives this wonderful results, and that people are seeking our products. Mm-hmm. And so this is now more, especially with after 2020 with coronavirus, this is more on online connections. Mm-hmm. And if people ask about the beans, I always put the word out that Plantation Delivery produces beans. We don't produce large quantities. This year, we think we will produce around 15 tons of cacao beans. So we're not a big producer. We're not consolidator. We're an organic farm, bean to bar. I love to call it estate farm, because we're not allowed actually even to buy beans. By organic certification, we're allowed only to sell our beans, and this is what we do. And we receive very, very good reviews from the people who use our beans. And this is a great honor for us, and great encouragement to continue.
So as you're talking about chocolate makers, what advice do you have for people that may be interested in making their own chocolate? As you had mentioned that you're beginning to start making your own chocolate.
Well, people first, I don't know your product. I think that would be, because I make it sort of, it's like, how can you make chocolate without knowing where it's coming from? But we can, and people can, because of the Valrhona producing all these fabulous pellets and bars, big bars of chocolate. So just try this bean to bar approach. And I know it's much more challenging for chocolate makers, but I think it's so much rewarding. It's so much more rewarding. I communicate frequently with our partners, and it's just the thrill. It's a different thrill when you begin something from scratch. You understand? Right. You just get this bean from the bag, and you make nibs, and then you roast, and then you move to more or less regular process. But I think it's much more rewarding. So my advice would be to, if not use a lot of the original product of cacao beans, just learn more about them. Learn about that, because chocolate doesn't come from chocolate bar, it comes from a tree.
Right. And what about for cacao growers? I know that it is truly a labor of love to get involved in trying to grow your own cacao, and then learning how to process it. What advice would you give to people that even are contemplating trying to grow cacao?
I worked in Africa, in Ghana. I visited Ghana and Cameroon. I didn't go to Ivory Coast, but I would say, from what I see and witness in the Dominican Republic, my advice number one would be look for associates, because it's a costly process. Mm-hmm. Even organic certification, you have to recertify every year. Be faithful, love the land, and then find the people and create the association. So as poor people, because most of the cacao producers are poor people, they cannot do it all alone, and it's very challenging for them to understand shipping, because I moved thousands of containers in my life, in my other life. Okay, I know what it takes to work with to prepare a package of shipping documents. I know what certificate of origin is. And still, you know, when you ship to Europe, you hear this new certificates, COI and others, and you just pause and you think about it. But poor people who are not savvy, they shouldn't be, and they cannot do that. So my advice would be to look into associations and work with your neighbors. Love the land, don't kill the land. At Eden, we use the principles of permaculture. We use solar energy. We collect rainwater. We use the wastewater, and just love it. Love your land, and find like-minded people with whom you can work together. That's the way, because otherwise producers cannot do it.
What was one of the biggest challenges that you faced as you started your cacao farm? And if you were able to go back and do it over, what would be different? What would you change?
The main thing that I would have changed, I would pause for a longer period of time with just doing, because I'm a very active person. I have to do, I have to move. But I would spend more time with the people with whom I did eventually spend enough time. But if I did it probably for a longer period of time, I could have avoided some mistakes that some of them were costly. Otherwise, I don't know. You need just a few things when you begin any business, including cacao farm. You need the land, you need the plan. What do you want to do with this land, which we had as well? And then you need people. And then you need God's favor, I think, at the end. And so if one of these factors is missing, you might have issues. So at the end, what I lacked was people, but I found them.
Tell me about your staff, the people that work with you.
I started with the group of the people who used to take care of the farm. And then later I transitioned, I began to look for my people who actually were more thinking about what relating more to my dream, to what we wanted to do, because we have a group of investors in our farm as well. And these were all people very enthusiastic about our plan, which was twofold plan: agriculture development, creating the best cacao beans that we can, and then doing tourism, cacao-based tourism. So now we have adventure, cacao adventure, and Taíno culture tour, which also has two parts. So we are very respectful of the history of the Hispaniola, of the history of the old world, of the history of the people who used to live on Hispaniola and who still live on Hispaniola. So, and then I found my people. And so now everything is wonderful at Eden.
Well, as our time comes to an end, what is it that is important to you that our viewers take away from our time together?
First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the interest, to you personally and to the chocolate community. And second of all, I'm grateful that all the hard work, all the 7, nearly 8 years of the work, not of me alone, but of the people, of the volunteers who came, spent 3 months, 6 months, a year on the farm, helping with water, helping with building different structures, helping with developing the land, that always all this work is paying off, and that Eden is now becoming a destination, and Eden is now becoming the reference point, and that the neighbors stop my car and tell me, Senora, your farm now has a look. Now your farm is just like the very good farm. So it's so first of all that, and then I'm grateful that I can share about what Eden is, about our values, that we develop this land with love. We develop this land for the future generations and to whomever the owners of this land will be after us. And that I'm grateful for the interest into the final product of our work that we do with love. And these are our cacao beans. And I'm encouraging chocolate makers, just try. We bring beans to the United States in small quantities, so we can ship some there. And if needed, I can bring more. We have FDA registration, or we have Plantation Delivery registered in the United States as well. So we're fully legal entity. And I just want to wish chocolate makers to experience Dominican Republic beans, because they are different and they're much sweeter. Their flavor is a different flavor profile. I mean, this is what I hear from many people. And so we're here in the north of the Dominican Republic, province of Puerto Plata.
Well, this has been such a wonderful time. I am so grateful for all of your dedication, your family's dedication, and all of the people that have come on board that share this vision to create Eden and to create this beautiful place where people can actually come and fully experience the joys of cacao. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I would like to use this opportunity just to invite people to come. Look us up on Facebook, on Airbnb, on TripAdvisor. Just give me a call. Just come and visit. You can stay at Eden, spend a few days and be away. This is a place in the mountains, away from everywhere. And
wonderful.
See that chocolate grows on the trees.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I so appreciate it. This has been an honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much.